You want to say something?
Yeah, I have a question actually.
Okay.
So usually there is a rule, like you said, right? We should avoid global variables or something.
Okay. Okay.
Then why do we use hoisting? I mean, like hoisting does the quite opposite, right?
Hmm. Okay. That is a good point. So here's the thing. When we say about hosting, so one thing we know is hosting is of two types. Do you know that? Hosting is of two
Um,
types.
no,
Okay. Then let's see that one.
just go through that once
Yeah.
quickly.
I guess I missed it. Okay. Anyways, let's. So, hosting are of two types. So the first hosting we already know is just a quick recap. We already know this, but yeah, just to be on the safe side. And should I choose a file or maybe this one? Okay, let's do the same file. No issues. So basically, the point is one is the hosting. So where um, let's say value one and just a second, guys. I need to switch off something.
You are not sharing a screen.
Okay, also, okay, just a second. So, disable it. All right. Is it visible now?
Yeah.
Okay. The point is, so there's a var value one in it. We are having some values inside it. Let's say 90 or something. Now, you already know that if I do console.log, so hosting part. So this is hosting and value. So this is good. This is good. We can do this. Okay. Whereas if I do the same for hosting let, okay, so hosting let and val3 is a let, okay. So this is what basically that's val3 and the value. So value one, since it's a var, it should be hosted and it should maybe print in something instead of like obviously don't give an error, but let's see. So say copy path and basically okay, so we have hosting which is undefined, okay, and we have val3. So val3 before initialization we cannot use it. Okay, so basically this is the thing about the first hosting. Now here comes the second one. Okay, see this. So when I say a function, so there's a hosting inside function also. Okay, not everything becomes global. So if I'm like saying like trying to say um, global, so not everything is like goes into global in case of hosting. For example, just a second. For example, let's see this. So it is value 2, okay, and here we have 34. Okay, let's see this. So value 2, okay, this is value 2 inside the function. So as per hosting rule, if value 1 I can access here, it means I can access value 2 also, right?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so value 1 I can, since it's hosted, I can use it and I can use it value 2 also. Let's see this. Let's see what the output. So I see that value 2 is not defined. But the point is, hosting should have put it upwards, right? Over here. So why is it coming not defined? And not defined means hosting. So it means that hosting didn't happen at all. It sends something like hosting didn't happen at all. But I want to show you something else. Let me cut this line and paste it inside the function. Okay, and let's call this function. Let's see this. So it is value 2. Okay, and let's what is being printed in case of value 2 now. Just a second, guys. I need to comment this part out. So I am checking hosting. Okay. So you can see that hosting undefined at line number 13, and at line number 62, I'm getting this. So at line number 62, so this is line number 62 basically. So I'm getting this printed as undefined. So hosting happens in the global scope also and inside the function scope also. So not everything, every variable is made global. It means that a value to hosting will happen, but it will happen inside the function boundary, not outside the function boundary. Is it clear?
Yeah, yeah, got it.
Okay. So it is designed such a way that not everything is made global. Okay. So that is the thing.
Okay, I was confused with that question. Like everything becomes global. I was thinking like that. Okay, so
Yes,
that was
yes.
my question. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. Like, I guess I missed this one. So maybe thank you for reminding. Okay, so this is what happens, and same is the case for block level variables also. So you see this curly braces block. So if I write in something, so let's say var 34, let's say, and put any value 34 in over here. So one thing for sure is if I do some console.log and I say in blog, okay, and I try to do this, okay, so maybe var 34 and um, so okay, it says var 34 cannot be accessed before initialization. So hosting is going on, okay, that is for sure, right?
Yes.
Okay, because it knows you cannot use it before initialization. What do you think? Like it should be printed at line number 69.
I think it should be in block and undefined.
Okay, so I sure it should be undefined. It's let.
It's let, right? Okay, maybe it will give 34, I guess.
Okay, so let has a block scope and this is block. So let won't be visible outside this block.
Okay,
So
yeah,
let.
that's true.
Okay, so that is one thing. See this.
Okay.
Uh, where's- where 34 is not defined. So previously inside the block it was giving cannot access before initialization. Now it is saying that can is not defined. It means that hosting of where is only happening inside the.
Block scope.
Yes. So this is how JavaScript does perform hoisting. Hoisting does not mean in global scope. Hoisting means inside the scope.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. So
Yeah.
um, yep. Okay. Just one thing to be just a quick revision, guys. So, guys, hosting happens inside the scope, not in global, not only in global scope. So, variable inside a global scope will be hosted in global scope, but a variable inside function scope will hosted only inside the function, not outside it. Outside value one will be undefined because it's not visible. Similarly, in the this is a block, so 34 would be undefined outside, but before this, inside the block, it would give uninitialized means hosting takes place inside the block itself. All right, guys. So this is what we had something. Okay. So this is the part of host. Now, where did I land? Okay, just a second, guys. Basically, this is so we studied about the closures last day, okay, and we saw that the functions and its environment is being saved, and that is what being refers to as closure. So we are preserving the scopes basically. Okay, so we are preserving the scopes basically. Okay, closures and let's we just saw where in a for loop we saw it last day. Now here's the point we need to learn about something called as arrow functions. What are arrow functions? Anyone knows what are arrow functions?
Yeah, I guess they are like just a single line functions, kind
Hmm.
of anonymous, I guess.
Okay. Yes. Yes, correct. Let's see this. So basically, this is what it happens. An arrow function is something like let arrow function, something like this. Let okay is equals to this. Something like this. We have an arrow function. So we have this box inside over here, this arrow and this curly braces. Basically, this box can take arguments, and inside this curly braces, the functions I can write whatever I want to write it over here. So A plus capital B should be the parameter. So this is what we are having. This is, looks like an arrow. So and it is having a parameter and a function call. How do you call it? As we call the normal functions. That's it. So we can say 3 comma 4, and this is how arrow functions look like. We'll say copy path. Let's open it. Okay, just a second. It is 7 in a minute. Okay. Next is okay. Now I can for single line functions. Okay, so this is for single line, and maybe I can just print. It's not a single line. Now it's a multi line. So now I can, instead of printing also, I can also return it. Okay, so I can print and I can return also. So I can do both the tasks. So let's see what happens now. So return as a return. Okay, so 7. So print it, and maybe I can just store and console it. But anyways, the point is this is how it looks like a normal function. Here comes the second point. If I have a single line, okay, so if I have a single line, I can skip it. So what I can skip? I can skip the curly braces. Okay, so if I have a single line in arrow functions, I can skip the curly braces. Okay, something like this. Okay, and it will work totally fine. So let's run this. So I'm having 7. Also, if I have a single parameter, I can skip the boxes too. Okay, so for single parameter, maybe we can use a multiplication and just see that. So we can pass up there. So single parameter, single line. So we do not need the brackets, and we do not need the curly braces. So that is something 3 cross 3, which is this is the arrow function, and this is the arrow function. So this is what we have. Now the other point is basically okay. So we can also return from here. Okay, so we can also return from here. Instead of printing, I can return something. Okay, so I can return something. So something like this is there. And hello, was this something? Okay. Anyways, so this is arrow functions, and so we are consoling some values in over here. Okay, let's see that. So I guess that we are also getting 9 over here. So this is also very much possible. Okay. Now, so we can skip only in case of return. So return statement can be skipped. You cannot. So you just not need to do it. Okay. And also, it's not an optional thing. You cannot write return for without the leaves. Okay. So that is why you have to. Yes. Are the other functions clear syntax wise?
Yeah, so to write a return function, we need those flower brackets, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We need these brackets in order to write return. Okay. Then you can just return. All right. But yeah, this looks very concise. Okay, so like you can see that for having a square functions, you can write in 3 4 words only. Okay, so you can see this. The next thing is so what's the next point? The next point is basically arrow functions. You don't write any function keyword or something over here. We have this function expression at the times. Okay, So function expression of the time. So either I can go with this one or I can also go with this one also. Do you use the function keyword over here? No, it's only the function expression. Cannot use this. And also it's anonymous, so we do not have anything and the name in over here. Okay? So it just the variable name, whatever we are having, and that is only used to call it. All right. Okay. One more thing. So hoisting does not happens in over here. That is very what is it? That is too obvious because it's a function expression. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So because arrow function will be hosted, which will be uninitialized. All right. What is the next thing? Just a second, guys. So what is the next thing? So binding and arrow function. So binding. Okay. So before we study about binding and arrow function, I want to show you something. So there's something called as this keyword inside JavaScript. Now, this keyword inside JavaScript is very very important. As we talked earlier, if you remember, so whenever a function is in a running or pending state, so whenever our function is in running or pending state, it has three things inside the call stack. Okay, it has three things inside the call stack. Last day we learned something about closures. Closures means a reference to outer environment or reference to outer execution context or environment basically. So that was there. So in the beginning of the functions, we studied about three things. So there's something called as execution context. Now there are three things. There's a variable in environment, so variables inside the function, okay, and its environment that is accessible. A reference to outer execution context, we studied this yesterday about closures. Okay, now it is time to study about this. This is what we are going to study. How many of you know about this and what is the role in Java?
Um, I guess this is used for usually to pointing a specific variable or line that we are using in a function that we're trying to call.
Okay,
Will point out to something specific, like in a function that
object
needs,
maybe.
yeah,
Okay,
no, sorry, object, in an object this needs to be executed, this dot uh,
okay, the property or the member functions,
property.
eh?
Yeah.
All right. So basically this keyword is required when we have a class, so and you create an object. So let's say there is a class car and you are creating an object. uh, Car obj is equals to new car, and inside the class you are having this dot. Let's say there is a car has a property name or car has a property max speed. So when you say this dot max speed, you are referring to the max speed of that object you are creating. Okay, so this refers to the current object. Okay, and what do I mean by current object? So there can be multiple objects, right? Like
Yeah.
like obviously what is the point of having object oriented programming language to, because we can create an class template and we can have multiple objects inside. So that was the goal. Now this brings us to an important conclusion that JavaScript is an object oriented programming language. What are the properties, guys? Object oriented programming language.
Basically four properties, I guess.
Hmm. So we have,
Encapsulation,
okay.
Encapsulation,
Hmm.
and
polymorphism,
polymorphism.
Okay, polymorphism, data abstraction,
abstraction.
okay, and inheritance, inheritance, parent
Yeah,
class,
yeah.
child
Parent
class.
class say, yeah, we can extract the properties of parent class to junior class.
Okay, here's the key, guys. The point is, have you discussed this that we can write a function also here? We discussed this, right?
Yes, we can use functions as well in an object.
Yeah, okay, so we can have a key value pair, and that is totally going to be fine. Okay. Anyways, let's print anything we want. So how to call this function?
obj.c
Obj.c makes sense. Very correct. Okay. So obj is the object and c is the function. So call it, and let's load it over here. So I will copy path and paste it in over here. So let's clear the console, and here's I'm leaving the console. Here's the point, guys. I can skip this and I can say function C. That is going to be okay. And why is it throwing an error? It should be working, right? Function C. Do I need to mention it? Okay, now it's good. Let's see if it is working or not. Yes, it is working. You can see that I do not need to give the key. I can directly write C and the method. The I do not need to write even function also. Okay, and this is correct syntax. You do not get any error. Now here's the point. It is saying that it is not a function, it is a method. Which so are you guys getting some hint of object oriented programming language here? Object is having properties, data member and member function. Are you guys getting the point? You use an object to call a property or to call a function.
method.
Yes. Aren't we doing the same thing here?
Yeah,
We are doing the same thing, right? So
yeah.
obj.a is basically the property and obj.c is the method. So data member and member function, which we have in the class, now the same thing we are having in object. It means that JavaScript has concept of classes, and those classes are also object. Last day we discussed all the function inside JavaScript are
Objects.
yes, and classes are also object in JavaScript. Everywhere is everything is object. Okay, like except non-primitives. Sorry, except primitives, the number keys and all those things. But here's the point, guys. I wanted to tell this because see this. There's something called as this keyword inside JavaScript. So before I proceed forward, I want to show you something. So what should be the output when I say uh, this in global comma window? Okay, sorry, not window comma this. What should be the output? Okay, let's see this. If you guys know, tell me. Otherwise, let's see this. So I'll clear the console. So when I say this in global, it says this is equal to window. Is it correct? Let's see that also. So this triple equals to window. Yes, this is true. So this inside JavaScript in global scope points to window.
Window object.
Okay, so it's point to window, and this contains all the things in over here. Okay, so it has everything added to itself. Okay, everything is present in this window part. So this keyword is pointing to window. Now this keyword has different meaning at different places. For example, if I write a function, so if I write a normal function, so guys, we are studying about this. Okay, just to be clear. So this inside global scope printed window. Now we are going to have a function. Let's say function one. Okay, and I have this console.log, and so you can say this is a function. All right, and let me print this also. So we have this inside the function also. Okay, so this is also quite possible. One more before we move to browser. Let me add one more. So there is a function, and this is uh, Okay, this is an anonymous function. So console.log, I want to an anonymous function. Okay, I want to print this. Why is it giving error? What is the thing going on?
Arrow, I think you missed an arrow.
Yeah, I will write an arrow function just below this one. So let function 3. Thanks for funding. It should be an arrow function now. So arrow function, and I have this inside arrow function also. Let's put this and see. So this is a function, this anonymous function in arrow function. Okay, an arrow function. Okay. So in different places, this has different values because of different execution context. This is depending on the execution context. Execution context is made only when function is in the call stack and in a running state. Global this points to window. Now it's time to see what all these outputs are there. Let's see this, guys. This is interesting. So we'll get to know something more. So we see that this is global and console. Why didn't it get printed? Because we need to call the function. So function one. Let's see function one. So this is a function. Normal function is printing. Normal function is printing window. Okay. Let's see the anonymous function. This is also printing window. And finally, let's see our arrow function. And I guess you guys have already guessed it. This is also printing the window.
Window.
Now you guys would be saying if everything is being printed window, so why did I write this? So why I'm creating such a confusion? Why did I write this? Is everything window? So I should write here window. But here is the case, guys. Let's see. So I'll put something over here. How many know about use strict?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay. Use strict. So use strict is what do you say? It's a kind of keyword or annotation or maybe something you can say. So let's say it's a keyword. So basically, to switch off the older compatibility, backward compatibility things, we use strict. So there are slopy mode and strict mode. A strict parsing means it will not allow older things to work now, older JavaScript versions to work now. Only newer versions will be working. For example, this depends to the function. It does not depends to the window. Make sure. So we studied that this is a function have this when it is in execution, but every this is printing window, and there is a reason behind it. Now I am putting use strict. Let's see what happens now. And let me make all the three function calls so I do not need to make it again and again. So function one, okay, function one, function two, finally the function three. Okay, see this, guys. All right, where is it? I will clear this one. See this. When I use strict means older compatibility I switched off. Okay, the newer addition, the newer functionalities which make more sense. Global windows is still global, that is for sure, no confusion in that. Is these three functions too are undefined? Yes, it should be undefined because function have their own this. They do not share window, they have their own this. This is what we studied, right, guys? Execution context. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So that is for sure. How it can be window? I'm these two statements are contradicting. I'm saying that function has this and this is window. So any one is true. So guys, this is true. So this is true. But in case of arrow function is a different species. It does not have its own this. So it shares this outside the curly braces. You see this. So it shares this from the
But
parent.
arrow function does also have its own execution context, right? Because it's a function.
It's a function, yes, but it does not follow the this property. So we'll study something as binding, okay?
Okay.
And so this is what it does not follow. So we do not have this in an arrow function, okay? Whereas apart from this one, all these functions are having their own this. That is why they were coming undefined. Why they are coming undefined, we'll see that part also, okay? And global this we know, arrow function this we know. So arrow functions will share this from its parent, okay? So it shares this from its parent. It means that if my statement is correct, if I am saying correct, this arrow function will share this from its parent. It means that if I call function 3, if I call function 3, so in arrow functions nested.
Now it should be undefined, I guess.
All right, let's see that also. See, it's undefined because it's sharing from,
Its parent.
yes, and parent this is undefined, so this is also undefined. So arrow functions share it this from the parent, okay? All right, guys. So this is use strict mode. That is why this is happening. And use strict means exactly no conversion and all those things won't happen. Okay, a strict mode is going on. Here's the point, guys. This depends on how we call the function. So this depends on how are we going to call the function. What was the statement about this? This points to the current object, right?
Yeah,
This was the definition we made, right, in Java. So this points to the current object. But here there is no object we are using to call the functions. And since there is no object used to call the functions, this is coming,
undefined.
yes, because there is no object at all. So that is coming undefined. I'm saying that this points to current object, and if this call the function, if sorry, if the object call the function, if any object would call the function, it won't throw undefined. So I have an object obj over here, okay, and obj.c is calling this function. It means that now if I want to print this, this should not come undefined now because our object is calling this.
Yeah,
Okay, I will make my statement again. Okay, there is a very important one. And so these two are giving undefined. Let me switch off the arrow function. Okay, let's not confuse ourselves. We already know about arrow functions now, that they do not have their this and all those things. But yeah, let's switch to the normal functions. Okay, let me comment this so that we don't get any error. Here's the point. Now the normal functions have their this. Okay. Now the key is this depends on the object which is calling the function. So because this depends on the current object and there is no object, so this is undefined. But object.c, so c is called with help of object. It means this should not be undefined now. Let's see if my statement is correct or not. So I am printing object.c. So see, I have printed object.c and it is pointing to this is printed and this is pointing to,
the current object in which it's called.
yes. So what is the current object here?
OBJ.
Yes. So what is printed over here?
Uh,
The,
OBJ and its properties.
yeah, like obj, right? Are you guys getting the point?
Yeah,
So functions, this depends on how you call that function. Okay, how you call that function. It does not depend where the function is defined. The function is defined in global or it is defined inside an object. It doesn't matter. This depends on how you are calling this function. So you are calling this function with the help of object. So this function will depend on, so this function, this will depend on the object. And this means that I can print this dot a, it can access the property. So it should print 23, right?
yeah,
And yes, it will print 23. So no issues in that. So you can see console 23. All right. What else? The next thing is I'm saying that this depends on how we call the function. But function 1 and function 2 are outside. There is no object to call them. So do we have any methods? Yes, we have methods. Why I'm landing to this? Okay, so this is HTML. Just a second, guys. Okay, so this we are talking about execution. Let's go down. Where are we? Where are we? Okay, so this in a strict mode we are learning now. Okay, and this is what we are seeing. I want to show you something. So before we create object, okay. Anyways, just a quick thing, guys. We'll study this in deep in later, but I can call this function with help of this object. Okay, I will do it one time, and we'll do in other sessions after we are done with the next topic. So I can call an outer function with help of an object. So these functions have methods attached to them. One of the method is dot call method. Call method asks for an object. This is how you supply the object. Now I'm not directly calling the function, I'm calling this function via object. So line number 47. Now my function one call should, so this should be printed. This will be printed as
Object.
yes. Let's see that. See, this is a function and object is printed. This is possible because every function in JavaScript is also an
Object.
object, and object has its property, and there is a property known as call method, and inside call you can supply the object. So obj, so if function is property of obj, so you can say obj dot function one, but function one is outside, it is not the property of obj. So how to make it up, how to make call it, so you can call it in this manner. So this is what we have, and this depends on how we are.
Using it or pointing it.
Yes, this depends on how we are calling the function. It does not matter where the function is situated. All right, guys. So this is what we had in this in JavaScript. Okay, in both the cases, like the strict mode and the slopey mode. This brings us to very important topics. Now, since this we are discussing, so what happens when you say, let's say there is a car class. So car obj is equals to new car, and you put two brackets. It means you are calling a method. Which method you are calling? So when you create an object, you call a function. What is that function?
Constructor.
Yes, you call the constructor, which is our next topic, constructors in uh, JavaScript. And what is the use of constructor? To create a to initialize the data members of the class. Are you guys getting the point? You guys remember this, right? We used to initialize data members with this constructors. Okay, how do you write a constructor? You say constructor props and something super. So super is for parent class calling. You say something like this dot a is equals to a. This is what we did, right?
Yeah, this is what we did in Java, right?
Yeah, the same thing we'll be doing here also. Okay, but see, my point is I'm asking about Java only. So we were initializing the data members, right, using constructor.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is what we are. So that is the usage of a constructor. So this is an OBJ. Now, here's the point, guys. When I say a language, whenever I say a language is a object-oriented programming language, what do I mean by that? When I say object oriented programming language,
It means like
yeah,
there are classes and objects which are reusable and
okay, very correct, very correct. For example, most of the devices, like some days before and now also, I guess, they were running on Java. Now, Java is the object-oriented programming language, and even our fridge, music player, everything would be having Java, and we do not know. Maybe we are knowing. So, how does it work? So, you create a class, let's say fridge. So, class fridge is there. Now, it has some data members and member functions. For example, it has a boolean. It's either on, so is switched on, so either the value is true or either the value is false. It can have the temperature property, so either the temperature can be, let's say, um, whatever can be the temperature, and there is a mode setting. And so these are the things, so these are the property of that class fridge. What are the member functions? Member functions can be start, member functions can be stop, change temperature, and all those things. So now we know that these all things are controlled by a digital board. Okay, you already know this, right? So like, most of the things are now controlled by a digital board. So object oriented programming literally means objects, so they are designed to work on objects. Similarly, I want to store data of students. Let's say there are 100 of students. Now, JavaScript does not have, um, okay, so do not have any structure or union or something like that, or maybe uh, we do not have, let's say, direct classes. Till now, we'll study about classes anyways. So, if I want to store data of 100 student, so should I create 100 objects, or do we have any other way? So we have an other way to do the task where I do not need to write object syntax 100 times. Instead, I can create a function. For example, this is a student function. Inside this, there is an object, and inside this object, I have something called as name. Name may be something like this. Okay, whatever can be the name. Or let's make it dynamic.
marks.
You want to say something?
No, no, no.
Okay. So, so these are three things. Okay. So let's say we go with name. So name, then task. I'm not writing CLASSY.
It doesn't allow you because class is like a keyword, specific keyword that is reserved.
Yes. Correct. So it says predefined keywords. I cannot use class. Okay. So the point is, obj. Okay. So there's an object, and I just return it. If you carefully see this function student, isn't it like a constructor? How? See this. I can create as many student object as I want by simply calling this function. And create one more object. Isn't it something like constructor function?
Yeah,
See, I can create as many student I want with the help of this function, and they will be different at different objects, and they will work totally fine. Okay. So what we did, guys, we created a function. Inside this, I'm having an object, and I return this object. Based on the parameters, these objects are created and object is written. So I simply can say that now I'm not writing constructor directly. Instead, I have created a function which will do the job, and I can see that a student one is having everything, student two is having all the different properties. So I have done the same thing in, as in Java we would say let obj1 is equals to new, let's say car obj equals to new car, uh, car obj2 is equals to new car. The same thing we are doing with help of functions here.
yeah. Instead of creating multiple objects, we are using a simple function to create multiple objects.
Yes, correct. So this is one way. Now, so how is this related? So I just told you let me complete this topic, then we'll discuss more. So how is this related? Let's see. I have one more shorter way to do this. Here's the way. I can write function student new. Okay, so there's a new way to create things, and I can say name class all. Okay, and I can simply say this dot name is equals to name. This dot class equals to class. This dot role is equals to role, and this is a totally correct syntax. No issues in this one. Will it work? It will definitely work. Let me show you something. So I will say student 3 and I will say student 4. Okay. So this is a student. Okay. This is a student. And what I did is I already know that this points to the
Current object.
yes, I already know that this points to the current object. I know whenever I will call this function, okay, let me call this still student new, right? So I know that whoever will be calling the function, he or she is trying to create an object. Since he or she is trying to create an object, I already have an object. So why to use a variable when I already have the data member? So I can say this dot roll is equals to roll number, and it will simply throw me an object. So it will simply throw me an object. It is the same thing, but now with this keyword. So this when I say this, it becomes the property of
Student new object.
student new object. Very correct. So let's see. So student 1 and student 2 are with older method. Student 3 and 4 are with the newer method. So student 1 is with the older method. Student 2, sorry, not student 2, student 3 with the newer method, and it is undefined. It is undefined. Why is it undefined? Let's see. So I assigned this dot name is equals to name, and this is coming undefined. This is totally strange. It should have given error, but it is not giving error. It means that this exists, but who has taken the name? And this is not use strict. So if it is not use strict, this prints as
Window.
yes. So who is having the name?
Um, Window is having the name now.
Window is having the name. Correct. And if I use strict, what will happen? This
Then
will
it will.
become
This will become the property for that new student new
okay.
object.
Okay. When you use strict, this becomes undefined, right? Remember, just we it was printing undefined when you use strict, right? So it would throw a
Yeah, it will throw an error unless it's an arrow property or some arrow function or something.
yes. So undefined dot name will throw an error. Cannot read properties of undefined setting name because use strict. But there's something missing. What is missing? So how many of you know? So I'm creating a new object. What do I missing over here? When we call a constructor, what is the keyword we use?
New, I guess.
Yes, we use a new keyword, and that is what missing. So whenever you want to create a new object, you have to use new keyword. Let's see now. Does it solve the problem? It definitely solves the problem. Let's see student 3. See, totally fine. When you say new, na, It assigns or it creates a new object. It assigns area into heap memory, and a new object is created overall. And these three properties are assigned to that new object. Is it clear, guys?
Yeah, it's clear.
The question is why line number 25 does not need a new keyword?
Because an object is already created above, and this is just calling. This is just repeating the function.
Correct. Very correct. That's the right answer. So we are already creating an object here. But here we are not creating an object. We have to create an object using the new
New
keyword.
keyword.
Yes. So this function is called as a constructor function. We call these kind of function as a constructor function. And if you remember, guys, we already have used the constructor function. How many of you remember this? You guys remember the syntax?
Yeah, we're just creating an array.
While creating a new array
Mm,
or while creating a new object.
object. Okay.
Okay. Isn't it the same thing? Like the same object creation. Yes, it's the same thing. This is the array constructor and this is the object constructor. Okay, and this is the student new constructor. See, constructor is student new. All right. So this points to the current.
Object.
Yes. Now, in not only data members, I can have member functions get roll number. Okay. I can write methods. One, zero. Okay. I can write functions, so I can say that function, and I can say console dot log. The student name is this
This
dot.
the name.
Yes, correct. So this dot name. So student new, this dot get roll number, and we have the data members and we have the member functions. All right. Let's see this. So student 4 dot get roll number. Okay, why I'm getting the name? Oh, I just print. Okay, let's change the get name. Okay, the student name is the this dot. Anyways, I hope you guys are getting the point now. Okay. Yeah, it's name, right? So this is what it is happening is okay. So student 4. Let me print student 3 also. So student 4. So when I print a student 4, so I have the data members and the member.
Function.
Yes, and the student 3 is holding the data members and the member function. All right, guys. So this is what we call. Why I'm reaching this file again and again. So this is what we call as the functions to create objects. So how to create object? So two ways. So either you go with a generic one, otherwise you choose a constructor one. This is what we are having. All right. Uh, so it's there's a statement written a new keyword bind to new object. Without a new keyword, this refers to upper scope. Is this definition clear now, guys?
Yeah, upper scope in the sense like window, right?
Yes, correct. Very correct. So new keyword binds to new object. Means if you do not use new, it will not create a new object. And it will be assigned to the object. And this makes most sense. Why this makes sense? Because even if this does not point to window, if I directly call the function, I'm calling in which scope? Global scope, right?
Yeah, you are calling it in global scope only.
So either I write student new or I write window dot student. Okay, do I have the function? Okay, see, okay, I have only the student. See, student or window dot student both are same thing. This is something like, so everything you write in this global scope now becomes the property of the
Yeah.
window. Everything, every variable you write inside a function becomes the property of
Sorry, what?
function. Everything inside the functions become the
Everything
property
is
of
the function of that specific constructor, I guess, of that specific function.
yes, yes. So this is what is happening, and this is what closure is, right? Closure says that everything is contained, preserved inside it, right?
Yeah, but in closures we can access like outside properties also, no?
Yes, we can access outside property, but the parent, right? The parent.
Ah, yeah, only for the parent, not the global.
Yes. All right, guys. So this is what it is happening. Now here is an optimization, guys. There's something which is not good over here. Why it is not good? Let's see that. So both student 3 and student 4 are having get name function. But get name function is a common function. Why every object have a copy of that function? Yeah, class name and roll number makes sense because these are uh, mm, like property of that object. That is good. But should all of them have the same function? Like, why to waste the memory? Like get name is same for all the objects. So 100 object means 100 copy of function, but that is very unoptimized, right?
You can write like this dot get name function.
We did the same thing, right?
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay. So there's something which is not matching up. We'll see. We'll see how to counter this problem. But before we go to counter this problem, let's go a step back and see this. So now again, this.html. So function. So this depends on how we are calling the function. So we can call the function using the call method over here. Now let me put some argument a comma b. Okay, so a comma b. Okay, so you'll say, sir, this is good, but what if the function, so function one dot call obj, that is good, call the function with help of object, but what if I have to supply the parameter also? So call says the second argument you can use as passing this parameters, so you can say 1 and 4. Okay, so this is perfectly good. So function one dot call and okay, just a second. It's not Flexbox. So I can see that line number 47, and I can see that there's a function. So object is printed, and the arguments are also received in over. So call is one way to call the function with help of object. There's another way to do the same thing, which is dot apply. So function one dot call and other one is function one dot apply. Here also, but in, so what is the difference between function dot call and function dot apply if both are doing the same thing? So the difference is I need to pass array of parameter over here. I cannot pass I cannot pass comma comma. I need to pass 1 and 4, and it will work. Let's see this. So I need to pass the 1 and 4. So it will work. So function one dot call is one way, function dot apply is the other way. There is one more way to do the same thing. Okay, call any function with help of any other object. I call, so we call that as a bind. Okay, bind and obj. So bind with the object. Here also we need to supply the array, but the difference. There's a difference. Binded. All right. Okay. Now, this is the function. So function one dot bind. I have a bind method. Okay, on the functions, and I can call it. So line number 50. Let's see if it is working or not. So call, apply, and bind. So yes, it is working perfectly fine. Oh, I need to supply like this only. No error needed. Arrays need only case of apply. Yeah, it's good now. Okay, call will work without any array, and bind is also working. So bind is also working, but the question is, can you guys tell what is the difference between call, apply, and bind?
Call is directly using like all the variables in a set of function, and apply is using like an array of set of parameters we are giving. I mean, like the set of one four we are giving, and bind needs to be put in like an variable. I mean, like in const, we need to assign it to a variable, and then we need to call it, I guess.
Okay, can I say that call and apply are calling the function directly, whereas bind is calling it in future?
Yeah, you can say that.
Yes. So, and bind I can call as many times as possible, isn't it, guys? Whereas call, apply are only for one time.
Yeah, one time use.
Okay.
Binded or for multiple, we can use it.
So we can call as many times as we want. So call, apply will directly call the functions. Bind calls, we can call the function anytime we want. It's not in compulsion. Bind it and leave it for future. So this is what we are having, guys. All right. So this brings so okay, this so these are the three things, okay, we are what we are having over here. Now there's one more thing which we need to discuss. So the call, apply, binding thing is done. Okay, so function to create object, there's an strict mode with it. So please go through this link. Okay, this is like having all the informations, and that is very important one. So please go through this thing once. Okay, let's cover one more thing today. Okay, and then we can cover start the prototype thing the other week. So there's something called as binding in arrow function. This binding in arrow function, let's see this. I can bind a function with help of a with an object. Binding means like calling with help of that object, even if it is not inside it. This brings us to one other thing, which is basically, let's see a arrow function. So let's not pollute this. Let's create one more. So I'll say function student name class. Um, okay. Before this, okay, we not need a complete function anyways. I can just go with this way also. So let obj2 is equals to, there is an object, let's say ABC. Okay, there is class, and let's say that it is 3. Finally, I have a function, let's say C, and this function is going to be an arrow function, and this arrow function is going to print value of the value of this, and I want to say this dot name. What do you guys think? What should be printed in this dot name?
ABC.
Okay. Okay, it's an arrow function, right? So let's see. So let's go to constructor, and this is obj2 dot c. It is pending abcd, but whose value is abcd? It's abc. Let's see. Window dot name. This in arrow function points to
Yeah, it points to the window, right?
its parent, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay. So there is, so we cannot do binding in case of arrow function. You see this, this is not possible. These bindings are not possible with arrow function because they do not have this. So if so you will get this only when this is there, right? Arrow function do not have this. So binding call apply will not.
Not apply to arrow functions.
Yes, correct. It will not apply to arrow function. And arrow function cannot be used as a member.
Member function.
Yes, we cannot use it as a member function. This dot name will never refer to this one because this does not. So if you have this, then only you will able to refer it, right? You will not have this. How you can refer it? Okay. So this is the key, guys. And to be more detailed, you can just follow this link. So where is it? Where is it? Just a second, guys. So arrow function prototype. Okay, we not okay. So we do not have prototypes. Anyways, we'll discuss about prototype later. So arrow function expressions is a compact alternative for the function expression, but it is limited and cannot be used in all situations. What we have already seen, guys, arrow function does not have their own binding to this. What is argument we'll see. Super we already know. Constructor, obviously we cannot use it in constructor. We cannot use it as a constructor method, right? Are you guys
Yeah,
okay? Because this is not there. So how can we make it a constructor? And should not be used as methods or member functions. Basically means member function. Okay. Don't have access to new dot target. Okay, we already know this. Call apply bind does not work. Obviously, it will only work when this is defined. So, which rely on establishing a scope. Arrow function cannot be used as constructor. Yield, you can check it out. What is yield? New dot target. I guess this is referring to the Tom one. So saying pseudo probability lets you detect whether a functional constructor was called using new operator. Oh, okay. So it is saying that it's a pseudo property lets you detect whether a function or constructor was called using new operator. Okay, this is I'm not sure why we we have this, but anyways, it doesn't matter. The matter is this does not exist and we cannot use it as method. Call apply does not work on arrow functions. Cannot be used as a concept. That's it. You can check it out. So arrow functions. I will put this link. These are the things we have in case of arrow functions. So binding in arrow functions are it is binded to its upper parent. Okay. All right, guys. So this is what we had in case of closures, binding, and constructor functions. Okay. Next week we are going to cover up prototype and classes. So we'll cover prototype and classes, and then we'll move to network request, client server architecture, and this going to be very very interesting. Okay. Any doubts till now, guys? All clear?
yeah, all good.
All right. So So these are some core concepts. Okay, so like they carry lots of things in them, but yeah, like the how to crack it. The point is just whatever is there, which we should be clear about. So that is it. Let's say and let me share it. I do not have it already. All right, guys, please mark it in and thank you so much. Let's meet in the next one.
Yeah, bye. Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Bye, sir.
Bye, guys.